All right, we're here at UTRGV, and I'm going to show slab construction. So I've got slip with a brush. I've got straight edge. I've got serrated edge, a wooden knife, and another type of knife. And I also have paddle, which I'll use later. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the clay. I'm working with stiff clay, so I can kind of speed up the process to show it. Normally I would have slabs that have been sitting overnight to get to stiffen up a little bit so they'd be leather hard, or depending on where you are, sometimes it takes a little longer, sometimes less, for things to get to the right. And you usually want a wedge, but this clay is actually too stiff to wedge. So what I'm going to do is, for me to easily wedge, I actually could wedge it, but it would take me a lot longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it and roll it in the slab roller in two pieces. So it'd be really hard to get a piece this large to go through the slab roller without. So I'm just going to throw it on the floor to begin with. The floor doesn't have a whole lot of trash on it or anything, so I'm not going to worry about that. But what I want is a kind of a wedge. So that's a good wedge, right? And it will merge together more. So I'm going to do that with both these pieces of clay. I'm going to put this down. You probably won't be able to see my head, but and you may need to come over here a little bit closer. You can bring chairs around for those in the studio. All right, so first I'm going to do is I'm going to run a really small piece through just to see how thick it's set at right now, because I haven't used it in a while. I don't know what the thickness is. So that just told me how thick it is. I like about, okay. Yeah, that'll work. It's not quite a half inch, not quite a quarter of an inch. So a little thicker is fine. But the way you do that is, if you want it thicker, you take out one of the boards. Take out one underneath, the one that has canvas on it though. And start with a piece of canvas, several down here. You're not going to need the large one, but you need to get it off the canvas when you're working on it. So use the canvas just to roll out and transport it. That way they don't get the bed of the canvas bed too wet. So I think I'll work with this. This will be fine. So I take the wedge part. It gets a little hard and you need help getting it through. Even when it's wet, it's going to take a little bit of effort. So you just slowly move it. You got to make sure your cloth doesn't bunch up on you, because that'll show up with wrinkles in your slabs. You just run it through like this. So the top canvas goes over the clay. It will get a little damp, but you'll feel the pressure against it. It takes a little bit of effort. If you don't have any muscle strength, then no judgment here. Just unless you've been doing manual labor for a long time, like I and then you'll feel it get freed up like that, right? So then you go backwards, and it will get a little harder, but it won't get as hard going back. And what you have there, I forgot I need one other tool. And so you then have, there you go far enough. Oh, it's all the way over there. Okay. Further than I thought. All right, so it does have a crease where it's kind of joined together. This is a good starting point. So now I'm going to take the slabs and put them over here. We're going to work on them. So You're not going to see my head. I'm gonna cover this back up so it doesn't dry out anymore. It'll be a good to use for slabs. The clay I mixed this weekend is a little wet to start with, so it's going to be a little harder to deal with to begin with for doing the slab work. So, like as always, put something down. I got to bring in some newspaper, but anything will work. Just something down so that it doesn't stick to whatever surface you're working on, or just check it, or lift it up, make sure you're not putting it in there. But what I'm going to do is cut this in smaller pieces over here. So I'm going to improvise. I'm not going to measure anything. You can actually do like architectural renderings for your piece, figure out to scale whatever size your pieces need to be. I usually eyeball almost everything. It's like and improvise everything. I play jazz piano, so a lot of what I do is improvisational. Even though it has, because of time and practice, like jazz pianists, they practice all the time. It's like real jazz pianists, and then they improvise within a realm of chording or whatever. With me, it's even worse than that. I don't follow chording. I just make it up as I go along. But with ceramics, I have enough experience that I know where I'm going with it. So I like to make slightly irregular geometric forms and also rounded forms, but I use the wheel for those, for like parts that have like more curvilinear, more organic shapes. So I'm going to start by, I need 5 pieces, right? So I'm going to start by cutting several pieces. And I may actually leave some of for the purposes of education, it might be a good idea. So I'm going to cut all the sides. You're going to have, so you can do a straight cut like I'm doing here, or a bevel cut, and I'll try and show both. Bevel cut means that the seams won't show up as easily. They'll be on the corners. So a bevel cut, this would be a straight cut. I can put these edge to edge like that, and they would work. I actually use pieces like this for some of my sculptures. So I leave the ragged edge on some of them and just add pieces together. So, but if I was going to do a bevel cut, what it would be to go at a 45-degree angle on each one. So I have to go a little bit. I'll go inward with a 45-degree angle. So I'm using the fettling knife, and I'm going to go at a 45-degree angle approximately along here, and take off that little piece. I might reuse that piece. This clay is not actually as stiff as it seems. It's just that the surface is stiffened up. So it's been sitting in plastic for several months, because it was only red clay that was left of the stoneware. I had a batch of red stoneware, and so that bevel kind of lopsided. So what I'm doing here is they would fit just like that as a single piece, right? So what you're going to do is you turn it around and join it like that, and then you get instead of it joining like the other one did, it joins like that. So what you do next is, and I can use these for my soft clay. You scratch it on both parts. Scratch it, go in more than one direction, and then put slip. If the slabs are really drying out, like they're still leather hard, but they're stiff, really stiff, then often I'll put a piece of wet clay between them when I do it. And then that comes out, and then I use the paddle to put them together. But this time they're they're not quite that wet. So I'm just gonna push them together like this. And if I want to, I can also like take the paddle and hold it in place and kind of tap it, and that pretty much joins it, right? So it's not quite a perfect fit, but you can see, and then just smooth it out. And you can put a really sharp edge on it, or you can put a soft edge on it. You can take a sponge to it and soften the edge a little bit, and then work on it at different stages. There's a tool I like to use when it's really leather hard. It's not quite leather hard yet. It's close to it, but it's still soft. And this is called a Sureform, and you can use it like a cheese grater. And you can straighten up your edges a little bit. You don't want to do too much, because what will happen, if you want a bevel on the edge, you can, I mean, not a bevel, but like a, what do you call that? Where like a flat edge to it. You can either get a sharp edge by going on both sides like that, or you can go that way and kind of give it like a softer edge. But the other thing that I do to strengthen it, especially when I'm not going to see the inside of it, is I take a piece of moist clay and put it down in there when I can reach it. Now there's going to be one side, if you close the form in, that you're not going to be able to reach. As long as you can get your hand down in there, you can put these. So that's a little bit too much water. I probably should have used slip. And then I just like merge that in. Sometimes it opens up a little bit. I just paddle it some more, and that gets it back. So I've got a nice kind of like a weld, right? A clay weld. And if you know anything about welding, and then I've got a corner there. So what I'm going to do is do that with these 4 pieces, and this won't be a bevel. This will be flat edge to flat edge. All right, flat side to flat side. So I want one for the base. So I'm just going to cut a piece here for the base, and it's going to be square. And that's why I need something underneath. So I'm going to set it aside. I may need to set it aside for a minute while I get ready. But the first thing I could do is put one on its side like this, right? And this way I just scratch along the edge and create a place. I'm kind of rough and ready. I don't do precise work sometimes, especially when I'm demonstrating. I refine things as I go along. So then this time you're going to have to do the edge of it right here along this edge. So this may actually fall apart on me because it's still floppy. But you want to do the edge of it. And I probably should have done this the other way around. I think I will, because this is the longer piece. You could use like a box or something or a 2x4 or something to put right here to hold it in place. So then I'm going to go and put a little bit of slip there and a little bit of slip here. And there's 2 ways I can do the bottom. I can either wait till this is ready to stand up and do it that way, or I can take the bottom and attach it, and that will actually help. So I gotta be careful I don't get paper in there. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take my paddle. I can't do it this way because I'm right-handed, but do it like that so you can see what I'm doing. Let's join that together a little bit. So I just stand up. I'm gonna do it from this way. All right, so the problem would be this standing up enough. So I'm going to do the other one, and I could actually do it the same way. So what I'm going to do is scratch this side, and I have smaller pieces. I'm going to leave the irregularity of the top and use that as part of the piece. What I like to do with these flat pieces is I do decal work on my stuff, and I'll use that flat surface with a nice light glaze on it and a smooth glaze. and I can put text on there, or I can put images that I've put into a laser print generator, a laser jet printer. I did that. That's my dyslexia coming out. Laser jet printer, and so I say that I don't really even know if I have dyslexia. So what I'm going to do is this one is going to be the other side, but you see it's a lot shorter. But you can do a perfectly made box if you want. You can do any kind of geometric shape you want, as long as there's like 4 or 5 sides to it. All right, 4 or more, 5 or more. So this will have 5 sides, and then I can play around with the top, add things to it if I want. So like I could add this as additions on the side as kind of decorative aspects to it, just any kind of, but I play around with it. I improvise when I work on my work. So I haven't done this in a while because I've been working on other kinds of things. I actually finished one. I'll show it to you this summer, right before school started. I'll get it out in just a second. So then I put this one here, and the obvious kind of I think the paper actually got stuck in there. Yep. So that's one of the drawbacks to this. So I got the paper stuck in there. Just trying to keep it from sticking to the and I can add this a little bit. So it's going to be slightly different. I didn't measure any of these. I just eyeballed it. So it's going to bring this in a little bit. It's not going to be perfectly rectangular. So then what I would do is I can put the bottom on, which is kind of a nice idea to do the bottom. And I can, it's not exactly right yet. There we go. That's better. So that'll fit really good there. All right. So what I'm going to do is scratch here, here, and here, and then so like this will not work with really floppy clay. This is almost leather hard. And scratch here, and then slip. Want to make sure it goes down in the grooves, but you do not want to paint your grooves away. So you don't want them to disappear. Actually, I didn't do that enough. I don't want this to fall apart on me. So, and I'm going to reinforce these areas as soon as I get this bottom on, so it'll hold it in place and I won't have to worry about it falling over on me. So I've got this ready, and I'm going to put it in place and paddle. This is where the paddling, oh, it's raining again. Is it raining?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of rain. Have y'all ever seen this much rain? So now I've got like a 3-sided box with a bottom. And so the next logical thing to do is to add the other one. But what I'm going to do first is roll out some pieces of clay. I'll use this area to do it. And roll out some little teeny pieces to join the pieces together. I need what? I need 1, 2, 3. I need enough to do the 2 bottom sides, and then the 3 sides on the 3 sides on the bottom and 2 on the side. So I want them really pretty thin, pretty small, because I don't want them to be real. This one will probably be open at the top, so I'm a stickler for craftsmanship. I do things that are irregular sometimes, but I'm also a stickler for craftsmanship. I like things to look like they're intended, like where it's intentional. Even if I have like broken parts, like I add something like that to it, it's intentional that I put this side here. So you know it's not a mistake, it's part of the piece. But in terms of like, I've done functional wear my entire life, so I also am really adamant about functional wear following certain functional principles. but this will probably be functional in terms of like you can put stuff in it. So I just use that extra piece down there. I shouldn't be doing that, right? I'm used to talking. I've been talking my whole life, right? Today is a good day. So I press this down in there, and I can refine it a little later. And I can also hit it some more with the side. So another thing you can do is you can take your sponge, get the water out of it, and you can just run it along the side. You want to merge it in and make sure it's merged in good with the slabs. But you want to support it on the other side so that you don't push it out too much. And then I'll do these two areas there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that because it would be hard to reach that when I get to that point later. So, and this one needs a little bit more water. It's actually bigger than the other ones I should have done. Okay, so, and that one just fits right there. All right, so I'm going to go back and kind of push it in maybe. All right, and I'm going to go in here and do these like I did the other ones. You got to realize I'm doing this a lot faster than I might do it if I was doing it on my own. I'm fast, but I'm trying to speed this up for the sake of demonstrating so that y'all can get to work on your own work, which I think is more important than, because discovery is half of ceramics. You know, you discover even things that have been around for ages. I can show you shortcuts, but discovery in ceramics is constant. You know, I've been doing this literally since I was 15 or younger, and that means most of my life. You know, like what is that? It's 40-something years. So that I've been doing clay and a bunch of different kinds of clay work. So, and other things as well. So everything informs me about the materials, about connections between artistic practice. So you see, this isn't going to quite fit. So what I want to do is I want to bring it in just a little bit. So I'm going to kind of paddle that in just a little bit because I didn't measure it exactly. I measured it approximately by eyeballing it. So that gives me that. I'm going to scratch this, scratch this, scratch this. If I know I can't get my hand down into it, say I'm going to do a closed form, I'll often put a much softer piece of clay where I'm going to attach it. Really thin piece of clay, like not a huge coil, but moderate coil. Let's see, how do I want to do this? Okay, I'm going to make, let's see, I could do it this way. No, I think I'm going to do it this way because that almost matches with the other one. And goes almost right to that one. So then I have one tall side and one half medium size, and then two that are about the same size. So I've got to scratch this. I did that so I could tell which side I wanted to use. And I'm going at an angle here so that I get like good connection there. And good dollop of slip. I've talked about this before, but you use slip between leather hard slabs because it works. It incorporates the principle of osmosis. Of course, the clay doesn't have that word to describe itself, but that's not to say that the clay isn't somewhat alive. But anybody know the principle of osmosis? Okay, it's like a basic scientific principle. Water, or liquids in general, usually travel from the area of highest concentration to the area of lowest concentration. I mean, I think this was high school or junior high when I learned this, but throughout the years, it's been a beautiful kind of description and explanation of simple things that happen in clay. So when you put slip in there, it has more water than the slab, right? So as it dries, it actually pulls the two pieces together because the water pulls the slip into both grooves. And then it evens out, and then it starts to dry the same. So it's a really good way of getting the clay to do what you want it to. So, and that is not fall apart on you. Of course, there is that too in ceramic practice. There's those that do ephemeral work that's meant to fall apart. But we're not going to get into that right now. Right now, I just want you to learn to make things. Once you get a highly conceptual view, and so then I can actually turn this up, probably. Let's see if it's not stuck. It is stuck down here. This is what I was talking about. That's why I put the paper down, but I didn't have enough. So I got to get some newspaper in here. So I can see how floppy it is. Well, I think I will just leave it laying for a while. So that's it. That's the basic functioning of joining slabs together. I do need to put a coil in here and down there, like 3 parts, but I can get my hand in there. I'm gonna let it dry a little bit. I'll probably cover it up and come back to it tomorrow. Straighten out what I want to straighten out, add some more pieces to it. I might even go across and up, like leave just part of it open. And let me go in my office and I'll bring out a few examples of slab. So here's a simple piece. The simplest piece I have is this little box. This was actually one of my demonstration pieces. It's just a square box, right? But I put decals on it. It's a little more refined and complex piece. It has also 4 sides, but it's not quite uniform in the way that I've arranged it. So it's kind of like a stela or monolithic projectile. And then I have some of my poetry on it and then some decals. This one is more like the one I'm making and has irregular side top to it. So, and it has, if you look at it, it has 5 sides and a bottom. So 5 sides and a bottom. Yeah. So those are simple. I have some that are more sculptural and less and more expressionistic in my office. Anybody wants to peek in there, they can. So that's it. So I'm gonna cut this off. Oh, actually, there's one other thing. So if you do, if you want to do the rounded ones, be careful about the water because you don't want it getting on your slabs. The roof is leaking right now. So where's that tube I had? Oh yeah, right. So if you do this, you can literally, you could take this and just wrap it around. Actually, it won't go all the way around. I have to run another slab through. Let me get a smaller one. So I'm not going to do this because but you need to put paper around this and tape it. And if you want to do this kind of thing, you could literally wrap this around and just slip and score it like this. You don't want to get it too tight. You want it to still be able to and then just paddle it like that. You'd actually have, after you slip and score it, you'd have the beginning of a piece, and you can take a piece and put on the bottom, slip and score that as well, cut around it if you want, or leave it like that. I mean, it's that simple. You can make forms really quickly with slabs. If I was gonna do another slab, I could get a large piece to show you, but you can make them pretty tall. But the other thing that you could do is do the same kind of bevel, but on both ends. So what I would do is I would take a piece and bevel it one way at the 45-degree angle, and when you wrap it around, you want it to match the other bevel. So what you do is bevel it the opposite way. So I beveled it, and then I'm going to scratch both of them. And you don't even, if the clay's stiff enough, you don't even need a form for it. So I'm going to put some slip there, and then they join completely evenly. Of course, if you do it right? So you have to be careful they don't slide off each other. So then you've got a continuous circle, right? A continuous form all the way around. Where the bevel is, you can see it. And in my PowerPoint, it illustrates the way that you do a bevel on there. I don't know if you can see it from way over there, but so when you cut them one way and then the other way, and then they join together, and you got a perfectly round join instead of having the overlap. Like on this funky little piece that I just did, it's got an overlap. And that's one way you could do it actually, and just paddle it down, and that would work fine as long as you didn't get too thin somewhere. So that's the basic assignment. Then the third one would be combine geometric and curvilinear, which is an assignment I give in drawing. It's an assignment I give in other materials as well. So that's it for now. So get working if you want. You can start. You need to get a board to put your slabs on. Make sure you can take your pieces off the canvas so you have somewhere to put them, and don't let them stick to the. Let me see if I can go find some paper. They used to leave the newspapers out here, but I don't know if they still have them.